All right, School Spirits, Season 3, Episode 4. Not even going to say the title of this episode. I know I'm going to get it wrong, but it is a spin on The Breakfast Club. So there's that. I don't really know what they were going for with the title of this episode, but that's just me, I guess. So it starts with Simon and Wally still in the church down in the hole in Martin's room. We'll later learn this episode that they call it the hellhole, and I'm just going to call it that because I think that it's a very fitting name. But, you know, they get out of there. The only thing is that they drop the frickin' watch, which is like... I'm just watching in a little irritation because I know that just another episode without much answers, which is not true. It's not true. But when the watch did drop, that's how I felt. Which is not true. Because we do get, like, some answers. But we see Maddie at home as she's, like, saying goodbye to her mom because her mom is going to recover from her alcohol addiction. But after she, like, waves her mom goodbye from the window, she, like, turns back to her dollhouse her mom brought down in the last episode. And this is where it gets a little confusing because, like, she goes up to the dollhouse because she sees that two of her glass dolls fell. She picks them up, but then she's, like, looking into the dollhouse windows, which I really liked that imagery of, like, her looking through each window with, like just her eye and then the window. Anyway, she's, like, looking through the windows. She sees little dolls in little rooms, but then she sees a miniature version of herself as one of the dolls, and it's in the boiler room, so what I think that is it's, like, a miniature version of when she went, okay, how am I going to explain this? So when she was having that, like, lucid dream type thing, like when her ceiling was dripping and her carpet was, like gum, like it was, like, sticky, and she, like, opens the door and it goes into the boiler room. That's kind of what the imagery looked like, but it was in the dollhouse. And then, like, there's, like, this imagery of, like, two shadow people with Maddie, like, looking at something that I couldn't really understand what she was looking at. But there were, like, these shadow people. I'm not really sure what's going on there, to be honest. But, so, all I'm saying is that she was having this, like, hallucination thing because when there's a knock at her door, it, like, cuts back to her sitting on the couch staring at the TV static, and Xavier's at her door, and she's, like, drenched in sweat. So Xavier is just there to check in on her, and he's like, I can stay here if you need, like, I know you're going through it right now, and he even says that he could sleep on the porch, which is like, stop. Like, I shouldn't be shipping you guys. You cheated on her. She is with Wally, even though he's a ghost. You know, just back up a bit. But she tells him, no, it's fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Because, not that this is important, but it's a Friday night, and tomorrow is Saturday, and they have detention for... Well, I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember what they have detention for. I'm pretty sure it was the whole, like, Janet going back into Maddie's body thing. But I could be wrong. I'm not really sure why they have detention, but they do. And, so the next day at the school, we have a couple things going on. So this whole episode is pretty much mostly everyone running around kind of doing things inside of the school. So I'm gonna try to explain it as simple as I can. So Maddie is in the cafeteria talking to her ghosties. And they're just talking about, like, the whole, literally the whole, like, the hellhole. They're talking about that, and, you know, Maddie, who is going through a lot, you know, her mom is going to get clean from alcohol. She's seen her dead dad in the hospital. Her best friend is not dead, but is in the paranormal world, and she's in love with a ghost. So it's fair that she's upset that Wally went down there. And then she's even more upset that Simon went down there, hypothetically, even though he did, but they lied to her about it. And Maddie's like, can we just wait until, like, I talk to my dad, and, like, maybe me and my dad can figure this out before you guys do anything stupid? And Simon's like, I don't know why we're just, like, kind of just like the way he was doing in the last episode, where it's like, we know that there's something down there, and we're doing everything but trying to figure it out. And he, like, brings out a Bible out of nowhere, and he dropped the fucking watch, but he has a Bible. Okay. It's okay, though, because, you know, we're getting answers. So he has the Bible. Maddie copies down some writing off of it, and Simon is all, you know, pissy about her being upset about him going down there, even though he lied about it. And so he storms off, and he's like, I'm gonna go down there anyway. Nah, you know. And so the principal comes in, and he's like, all right, detention. So Wally tells Maddie that he'll go after Simon, and Maddie tells Charlie and Rhonda to look more into the Bible, like if there was ever a church where the school is built. So the principal is quickly taken care of when the custodian comes in and has, like, a stack of files. And he tells the principal that it's for Jennifer Tilly, and that Jennifer Tilly told him to do it. And so the principal is really pissy about it and takes the custodian to his office, which gives Maddie the time to ask her living friends if they can cover for her while she goes to look for Simon. So Maddie goes to look for Simon. Honestly, like, this whole episode, Maddie kind of gives me vibes of Julie James from I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a feeling. But Claire, she notices the writing Maddie copied from the Bible, and she clocks that it's in Finnish. And our girl, my favorite character, Claire, knows Finnish. And she says, you know, it's something Finland. So to make sure, she goes to Maddie's bag to get Simon's tablet to translate it. But she sees the message from Simon's parents, who are still worried about him because he has not gotten back to them in a while. So Nicole gets the idea to use Simon's old podcast and kind of cut up clips to make a feasible voice note to send his parents. So right now, Maddie is looking for Simon. Claire is trying to find out about the church and all that stuff. Nicole is going to cut up the voice notes, and Xavier stays back to, you know, cover for all three of them. So in the beginning of this episode, maybe it wasn't a Friday. Oh my God, I am, like, all over everywhere. So I'm sorry about that. I don't think it's a Friday because earlier in the episode, we had kids talk about leaving something in the band room, and, you know, it was big enough to really get them in trouble. And we eventually learned what that was because Yuri goes to the band room. He's spooked by Martin, and because Martin is just sitting in there hiding away from all the other ghosts. And Yuri, who is still reeling with the idea of having a grandchild, and, you know, Charlie's reaction to it, he wants to trip to get out of his head, which is not, like, good. I definitely do not recommend that. Definitely do not be taking psychedelics if you are in a bad headspace, which, you know, is saying something for Yuri, but it's saying even more when Yuri is giving some to Mr. Martin. So I'm, like, worried for Martin. Not that I really care much about the guy, but he hasn't been in the right headspace since he died. Like, you really think shrooms is going to be the best thing for him? But I get where Yuri's coming from. Yuri is like a down-to-earth guy. He's like, I just want to learn lessons from the universe, you know, things like that. And so I can see how he thinks that would help Mr. Martin. So he gives them to Martin, and then Quinn comes in, takes the rest of the shrooms, and so Yuri, who knew about it in the first place, doesn't even get any. He is not pissed enough, in my opinion. We then cut to Simon and Wally in the boiler room, and they're bickering about lying to Maddie, which is like, I get it. You guys don't want to upset her, and I also sympathize with Maddie. She's going through a lot, but I think Simon's right. I think, like, they need to figure things out, and waiting for Maddie, you know, to figure out what she wants to do just isn't, you know, really the best thing right now. So, but Simon is like, I'll tell her the truth, but you gotta let me back into Martin's room. And it's in this moment do they figure out that they don't have the watch, which is like, cool, that's great. So Simon is like, I guess we're just gonna have to go the long way, and Wally is kind of like iffy about that because the last time he was in a scar, his door appeared, you know? So back to our shroom group, they're kind of just waiting for it to set in. And I was thinking while watching it, like, why? How come Yuri isn't able to have any? Because, like, shouldn't it have reset and he should have been able to have some, even if Quinn and Martin already took them, because it wasn't in the paranormal world to begin with, so it should have been replaced, right? I don't know. Maybe Yuri just decided to be a trip sitter, or maybe, you know, he just decided that with everything going on, it's probably not the best to do that to begin with. But Quinn talks about how they don't really remember much from their life, and Martin is like, you know, I tried to ignore all the bad stuff that happened in my life, but it came to a point where I can't even remember the good things. Like, I don't even remember my mother's face. But Martin and Quinn end up both leaving the band room, which leaves Yuri to pull out Janet's note and his lighter, which is his key, and he goes out to the greenhouse, which is his scar. Then in the library, Rhonda and Charlie are looking more into Split River and, you know, the church and the Bible and stuff. They're not really finding much until Claire comes in to use the computer. And we learn some things there. But we eventually cut back to Maddie, who runs into the bathroom because she's still looking for Simon. And at this time, I forgot where she came from, but Jennifer Tilly is here, and she's kind of just dragging the principal the whole episode. So our characters are kind of just running around every time they see or hear the principal and Jennifer Tilly. So Maddie runs into the bathroom, bawling. Wally comes in because him and Simon overheard her, and Simon is like, you know, just go calm her down, but don't tell her anything about me or what we're planning to do. And Maddie talks about how she is just so irritated at Simon. Like, he always does things without thinking, and that's how he got himself in this situation to begin with. And, you know, it's kind of a little embarrassing to watch because Simon is overhearing it. But Wally is trying to calm her down, and Maddie's just saying that she really is just, she wants to help, and, you know, she's trying everything she can. And Wally kind of just tells her that she is helping, just to a lesser extent this time, because she's not the main character right now. He didn't say that, but it's, you know, kind of true. She then gives her blessing for, not Simon, I don't think, but specifically Wally. He can go back down there, and it's like, great. I mean, they were going to do that anyways, but, you know, it's good to have her opinion. Or not opinion, but, well, anyway. Before that, she also asks Wally where Simon is, and Wally is like, you know, I don't know where he is, but I'm guessing whatever he's doing, he's trying to get back to you. and that Wally would do the same. So that's cute, even though, he's still lying to her. So after the whole bathroom thing, Wally tells Simon that he was iffy about going through his scar to get to Martin's scar because the last time he was in there, he saw his door. So like I said, I think it's cute that like Wally and Simon are becoming like buddies at this point. But they are on their way down to the field to get into Wally's scar. Quinn and Martin are tripping. Quinn is like having this whole choreographed dance, which is iconic. And then we have Martin who sees his mom. So good. He was just talking about how it's been so long that he forgot how she looked. So that's, really good that he is seeing his mom. But something I really liked is that when he was tripping and he was like laying in the grass and he was like looking at the ant on his finger, when it wasn't in his point of view, we could see that the ant actually was not there, which makes sense because he's a ghost and also he's hallucinating. So I really liked that. And that is what Simon and Wally come across when they go to the field, is Quinn kind of just dancing around and Martin running after his mom. So Maddie talks to the custodian, and the custodian tells her about the stone tape theory, which is pretty much a theory that something isn't inherently haunted, more is it a traumatic recording that is being played of a traumatic event that happened previously. And he was saying that he's not sure if the school is haunted, but he feels like it's been talking for a while. So, that's fun. And then to wrap this all up, we have Simon and Wally going down into the hellhole. And it's kind of like this full circle moment of the beginning of this episode where Wally is calling for Simon, who, Maddie's not wrong. He does kind of just do things without really thinking. Like, what were you doing? Like, that it's crazy shit going on down there and you decide to just sit there. But as this is happening, Maddie's dad at the hospital, because he's a ghost at the hospital, he's having a conversation with this ghost nurse in the basement. And they're talking about how there are other paranormal stuff that aren't like them. So I think what this means, because there is this like demon guy who like walks up to Simon. He's like tall, he has like no visible pupils, he grabs him by his face with his long fingernails, and his like nails are like edging towards his eyes. It's really scary. I'm worried for him, but I have a feeling that, not a feeling, I just going based off what the show is telling me, that is not a real like person. That is just a recording being played out of a traumatic event. So I don't know if it's like this show's type of demon or if they're going in a whole different direction where it's like it's evil because it is made out of a traumatic event rather than it just coming from hell or something. So yeah, I'm really excited for the episode this week. I am really interested to see what happens to Simon. I really hope Maddie gets a break. I love Claire. She's always my favorite character. She always has been my favorite character. And if you tell me that I said otherwise, you are lying. And yeah, I'm very excited for the next episode. Let me know what you think though. And yeah, bye. Hold on. Sorry. Before you go, while editing, not the best editing, but while doing it, I realized I forgot a few things. So Charlie does meet up with Yuri after Yuri goes into his scar, and they're kind of having like their little key or whatever, and we learned that the way to preserve something so where it doesn't reset is by taking it into your scar. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Okay.